Forgive me, but I have to start today's episode off with a bit of a disclaimer. That's because this game has a particular flavor of fan service, and if I don't address it out of the gates, I'm going to catch flack on the other side for not having brought it up. The game is positively bursting at the seams. Dare I say, the cups runneth over with robots. Yeah, there are robots everywhere. They're all the enemies and bosses you'll encounter in this game. Robots all the way down. And we'll probably need to smash them with a big ol' wrench sword thing. So people with robophobia and technophobia have been properly warned now. Oh, and yeah, before I forget, the main character is a human female and therefore a mammal, and mammals are named after a certain thing, and those exist too. Alright, enough of this awkward intro, let's begin. Hey everyone, this is the Hipster Snek, bringing today a bit of a distinct N-D-X. Smashing the Battle, always in all caps for some reason, was released in 2016 for Steam and mobile platforms, also having received a release on the Nintendo Switch in 2019. It's an action beat-em-up with a strong emphasis on getting huge combos. Developed by Korean game dev team Platinum Rocket, it was met with, well, mixed reviews. However, I feel it's worth another look despite some of its misgivings that were likely courtesy of some surface-level complaints. However, as I'll discuss in this very episode, I feel this is somewhat unfair. Let's have a closer look at the two main stars of the show, Sarah and Mary. It's the year 2085 on a massive smart construction site, largely staffed by ever-working robots and their human middle management. However, when a hacker gets into the system, the robots turn on their supposed superiors and begin attacking indiscriminately. Main character, Sarah O'Connell, is caught in the crossfire and, under the guidance of the mysterious Lorraine, dons a set of questionably designed armor, clad in armament sufficient to destroy the robot menace and rescue her wounded coworkers. Once you clear Sarah's storyline, you'll unlock Mary Lucy's, and see the events unfold from a different perspective as some intrigue plots await those who take the plunge into the canyon-esque depths of robots. From a graphical standpoint, the game is solid. The camera is at an overhead angle, which you can adjust as needed, but since you always want to see in every direction, the loving detail the robots have been designed with in mind will be lost in the frenzy of sword-destroying robot action that will soon commence. Oh, and the main heroines too, I guess. It may come as no surprise to those at home watching, but I'm a bit of a technophile myself. I love seeing mechanical things, and the way the mechanical enemies are designed and the way they move around actually makes them look like machines limited by the limitations of their motors and frames. It's a series of small touches that goes a long way into the world building, so nice job, team. And bookending most levels will be dialogue via radio communication between Sarah and Lorraine, updating us on the status of our human comrades, done in anime-style portraits. Gotta take points off for not having palette swaps for each of Sarah's possible armors, but hey, I get it, it's an indie team and they don't have time to adjust for every possibility. Some corners had to be rounded off. But the portrait art is large and expressive, and I'm glad to see that even in this industrial robopunk setting, high technology still has time to install tons of structurally superfluous cyan lights across Sarah's armor. I'm sure those were all very necessary. And from an audio standpoint, the OST tends to stick in the background with a mixture of techno and rock motifs. Insert metal joke of choice here, of course. While the music may not pop, I will say the sound effects definitely do. It just feels good to rip through tons of these little spider-like robots with one huge overhead smash and send bits of scrap metal sailing through the air. And since the game is fast-paced, you'll be hearing a lot of it as the primary gameplay hinges on smashing said robots to bits. In fact, let's go ahead and dive into the gameplay next. Smashing the Battle moves in a straight level progression, with your primary ambition being to, well, smash everything you get into a battle with, hence the title. And you'll be delighted to know that the suit comes loaded for bear, clad with just about every button on a standard controller having some kind of functionality. This includes things like a magnet bomb, which will group nearby enemies into tightly packed bunches, the special slash, which is a good follow-up to the former and does a huge blow to all enemies in a straight line ahead of you, and the all-important self-repair. These abilities are all tied to both a universal special meter and their own respective cooldown timers, and if one or the other becomes a problem, you won't be able to use them. This ties into the game's other added wrinkle. It takes a lot of ideas from shooter titles. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, far from it, but it changes the pace of the game where spider bots decide to return fire, with blasters, beams, bombs, shockwaves, gigantic crushers, and electric bars that rotate around like a blender out to indiscriminately destroy anything with a hitbox. But lucky for us, we can dodge. Not only can we dodge with the best of them, the likes of which would give Dante and Bayonetta pause for thought. Anytime we dodge at the last possible moment, oftentimes phasing through the sources of damage in order to do so, not only will we get credit for it in the level result screen, we'll even recover a bit of expended SP in the same movement. This actually makes levels with rotating electric obstacles very easy, as you can dodge through them repeatedly to swiftly recover all your SP and resume a fight in earnest. Downside is, you do plant your feet upon finishing the dodge. The game will kindly remind you of this, so just be careful. Don't end up in a dangerous spot where you land. But since you're literally invincible mid-dodge, use it for what you think it's worth. As said, the game grades you at the end of each level based on biggest combo, or really greatest number of enemies killed in one hit, as this will almost always be tied to your special attack results. How many times you narrowly dodged attacks, and the time it took you to clear the stage. And it will judge you harshly. There are times I thought I did pretty well for myself, only for the game to completely disagree. But you can replay any stage that you cleared up to that point, and you'll want to, not just for completionism or perfectionism necessarily, but because the game is undeniably quite grindy. See, you'll want to keep stock of 3 major currencies, those being keys, coins, and scraps, and each one is used to purchase different items from the game's main menu. These can unlock fan art, alternate armors with varying colors and stats, and use in some levels to access branched paths and rescue vulnerable human workers for their literal dead-end jobs. But these will need to be farmed by destroying both bots and clearing the levels, and there's a lot of expensive upgrades. This is especially true as you can also manually bolster both main heroines' stats on an individual basis as well, and yes, it costs money. It is the game's biggest drawback. You will be grinding it a lot, to the point where several hex editor guides exist to hack the amount of money you have on hand if you check the Steam community discussion area. And aside from that, the game does tend to get on the repetitive side in part due to this. More level variations also would have been nice, as between forced grinding to power through trickier levels is the only other factor that makes this game feel longer than it actually is. It's actually rather on the short side, with each heroine sporting 30 individual levels, and the challenge mode which helps but doesn't amend the issue in full. Oh, and the English script could have used another QA lookover. It's a pretty minor gripe, but it does exist. The engine itself is actually quite robust, no pun intended. The action is fast and fluid, but the repetition and the lack of a more diverse challenge is ultimately what stops this from being as loved in the way of platinum action titles like Bayonetta. But despite that, I actually find myself enjoying it on the whole. Sure, I might have employed one of the aforementioned hex editor guides in order to circumvent some grinding, but tackling each stage was exciting, and the furious pace of the game and constant waves of robots kept me going for completion. If I could recommend something beyond what I've already mentioned, maybe a survival mode based on wave encounters and more dynamic level design, with traps moving in and out as the waves come and go. That couldn't go awry in a hypothetical sequel, right? And that's the final word on Smashing the Battle. If anything I've said today intrigues you, it's only $12 on Steam. You might be surprised how much fun you'll end up having if you approach it with an open mind. Okay, I'm past the 8-minute mark now, right? Listen, there's something I need to discuss, and I didn't want to make it a Snek talk for fear of getting the hammer of the algorithm dropped upon my tiny Sneky head, and according to my channel stats, most people have stopped listening by this point. There's just something I gotta talk about, because some games I've already reviewed, and some that I plan to review in the future, are impacted by the sudden trend where fan service in games is viewed as a disservice to the industry at large. Half the reviews I found in casual web searches as I was researching this episode have reviewers talking out both sides of their mouths, having enjoyed the game as the good action game that it is, but feeling the need to bend knee and offer condemnation upon it because they enjoyed a game that accentuates female secondary sexual characteristics. Why is this a thing nowadays? Heck, in another example, Sony feels the need to censor anime games but puts hardcore adult scenes into their more quote-unquote realistic titles. I just don't get it. You guys know that women exist, right? And that they exist in multiple body types? Every Dead or Alive installment also gets reviewed bombed by people who've never actually played the game, and I can't tell if it's out of some kind of deep-seated guilt or embarrassment, or if there's just a large coalition of people who hate themselves a lot and need something to whinge about on Twitter. I mean, yeah, memories large and small exist. Get over it and yourselves. Here's the bottom line. Don't be ashamed to play games that you like to play. Play what you want to play. And don't let the fun sponges shame you out of an experience that you might have sincerely enjoyed in any other context without badgering. And above all, don't allow cancerous cancel culture to erase artistic vision. Don't like it? Don't support it. But if you do like it, support it wholeheartedly, and smile in the face of censorious moral busybodies who would dampen the experience for you. Alright, off the soapbox now. This has been the Smashing Snek, bringing to you food for thought and some more N-D-X-Cellence. If you liked today's episode, tap the like button to let me know so. Leave a comment down below. Do you like big robots? I know I do. You can also hit the subscribe and bell icon so you'll never miss a one. It always helps out. You can also join me over on the Tomodachi Bros YouTube and podcast services of your choice, all links in the description of every video every time. And join me here each week for obscure reviews, N-D-X-Cellence, and more. And I will see you there. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. And if you're still watching, I just wanted to let you guys know that I wanted to extend a big thank you to all my viewers for helping us recently break the 250 subs milestone. That is crazy to me. The fact that we did it so quickly is all thanks to you and you guys supporting me, and it means the world to me. So I want to give a little something back in return. Between now and the time we hit the 500 subs mark, both on my YouTube discussion page tab and over at my Twitter at Hipster Snek, there is now an open AMA or Ask Me Anything where you guys can ask as many questions as you want. When we hit the 500 subs mark, I will sit down, make the video, and answer every question that doesn't get me banned off YouTube. The posts are already there and pinned, awaiting your input. I'm curious to see what you guys are curious about. So I'll see you at the 500 subs mark with all the answers that you've been craving. And I will see you there.
Yes. Smashing.